For use.
Because this first thing that you might be doing is the reason why you're A, having your time being wasted, or B, getting robbed frequently. Remember what I said in my first video, respect and patience go hand in hand. So if you want to command respect, you are also demanding patience from whoever you are interacting with. So that means that the next time someone comes up to you and they say, "Excuse me, miss," or "Excuse me, sir," when you look up, do not smile. Do not smile. Look up like this. Let a smile be earned. I think people are inherently good. I think that the world is full of so many amazing miracles and love and wonders. However, it is one of the silliest things to display on your face to the entire world that you think that that's true immediately. Immediately. Don't do that. Instead, here's what I do. I do the straight face like I showed you guys. And then once I deem the interaction to be safe or enjoyable, or both, preferably both, then I will give a smile. Until then, you have to earn one out of me. This is not a tip for work or school. This is like strictly public. If you want to command respect, walking on the street wherever you go, that's the best advice I could give you.
People will take advantage of you if they think they can, or just target you. Like, especially for men, it's like a heart test. It's kind of like a jailbird thing, where in the real world, they usually test you to see if you're appropriate to be robbed. And that happened to me once. Me and my ex-wife at the time were dating in college, and we're walking down like a sidewalk near campus, but it was late. It was like 2 a.m. It's like safe, right? Because it's like campus and there's lights and it's bright as day practically. There's patrols and stuff like that. And this car kind of pulled up next to us and stopped. And then we kept walking, but we both looked at each other. We had this like gut feeling and we should have really ran. But I was in my friendly, smiley stage of life. I'm like, 22 years, and dumb. And they come like running out. They're kind of like little short Asian dudes that were like 4'8", so I wasn't really concerned necessarily, but there were like four of them, and then they're like, "Oh, what's the time or something?" And like my gut was to run, but I just didn't for some reason. I didn't want to feel like that was happening, and I realized I had like a leather jacket on, so I probably was targeted for that reason. But that's the thing; they're kind of testing you. They saw me walking with a girl. I'm not acting aggressive, etc. So it's like by being too friendly or not assuming the worst in people in public, you kind of get yourself targeted. It's like boxing. You have to protect yourself. And I feel like in our culture, especially in America, we have this thing of, not crossing the street. Like often, I'll be walking on one side of the street and I'll see someone coming and it's late at night, 1 a.m. or something. And I'm going to cross the street, man or woman. And for men, it's like, I don't know if it's a robbery setup. And for a woman, I want to make her feel comfortable. I'm a guy walking at night. I'm not very intimidating, but even still, like, let's just create that space and both of us don't have to stress out. Um, and people have gotten offended to me, like, whatever race they are, and they get offended because they think I'm avoiding them. It's like I'm just taking that off the table. I don't care what race you are. It's 1 a.m. and I'm by myself and I want to set the stage. So if you cross that street, I know we have a problem. I don't want to be like, oh, I'm gonna like kind of walk by you, maybe step out into the pavement. I'm not giving you the chance to get close to me to harm me. And so she has a great vibe here with that. It's like make them earn your smile. And I think she's the part I don't agree with 100% on her. I think this can be used in work and school. I kind of find often people will try to bully you in the workplace. And that used to happen to me very early in my career. But now I'm more standoffish and I'll stand my base with people and I'm not so friendly with people early on. Obviously, when you're a brand new hire, you have to be all smiles first 90 days, first 6 months. You kind of have to have that friendly smile. But once you kind of know the players and what's going on, you could start being your true self, that outside of work self a little bit. And you kind of don't need to talk so much. You don't need to say sorry to the homeless person that's asking you for money. Just keep walking. Don't engage in these situations. And even in public, if someone's approaching me, you don't have a reason to approach. I had someone yell like, "Hey, hey," like behind me, and I'm like, "What?" Like from like 20, 30 feet away, some woman, and she's like started like with some spiel, and I just turned around and kept walking. Because it was like I thought, well, if I did drop my wallet, you don't want to ignore people in public completely. So she has a point, but unfortunately, you have to assume the worst. Like she said, you need to prove to me this is a safe interaction, and more importantly, it's an enjoyable interaction. If you're coming up to me on the street, what real reason do you have to talk to me? Even I've kind of found no really good has come to me from meeting a stranger randomly off the street. Maybe in a hobby situation, I'm around somebody, but I've never had like we met randomly on the street and we became best of friends. That's not you usually vet people. You're go to school with them. You're a friend of a friend. Like you're not just meeting randoms off the street. So keeping your guard up. Yeah, if you're too smiley, you're too friendly, people do take kindness as weakness. So she is right that you kind of have to start from straight, straight face, no emotion to show them you're not, you have your guard up to some degree. You're not just ready to be taken advantage. She's right. You're asking to be robbed, you're asking to be targeted, you're too friendly. And I kind of find also, even with words, I kind of find it's good to observe a lot, make it awkward in that first encounter. If someone on the street's coming up to you, there's very unlikely it's going to be a good thing. So I let them get out what they want to say if you have to, if it's a safe situation, but I'm not trying to have a long conversation. There's really no reason to talk to someone on randomly off the street. And it's like often two people are trying to butter you up for a robbery, or if you're at a bus stop or you're somewhere, they might be being friendly. They might be the opposite sex from you. And, as a man, it might be a woman. I just saw something recently. They were in Brazil or something, and a woman was pretending to be drunk, her and her friend. And then when the guy was trying to pick her up, the other girl like stabbed him with a like needle that injected some sort of intoxicant to make him pass out, and then they robbed him. So there is sort of like you need to keep that personal distance that from everyone and stay aware. He turned his back because like, oh, it's two women, like nothing's gonna happen to me, and he got robbed. So I kind of view it as like no one really should be entering your personal space out in public, where it's like even if I'm standing in line at a grocery store, like some guy standing a little too close behind me, I'm gonna look back and like kind of like create some distance, see what's going on. Like you're not safe anywhere necessarily. We have this false sense of security because we have cameras and this and that, but all it takes is one moment. So don't allow yourself to be a target. This is a spiritual channel, but we still live in the 3D world. You have to be practical. You can't just, it's like the Greek thing with the you can't let the giant horse in as the gift, the Trojan horse, because once you open that gate, you allow yourself to be hurt. So it's the vetting process. It's kind of like in corporate, like hire slow, fire fast. It's like vet people, and as soon as someone's a problem, revoke access. And this ties into spiritual practice. I've met many a guru that's doing wrong sexual things with the parishioners, and or they're kind of like a fake guru. They're just trying to make money off people. They have some sort of angle. I always feel like, especially in spirituality, you have to keep your guard up. One time I was on a call, it was like a free call, and there was this woman on the Zoom screen, and she was just too smiley, too happy, like nodding at everything the guru guy was saying. And so my gut was like, something's wrong with this woman. She seems too like into this. And then of course it was revealed, oh, she's like part of the program already. Like, so she's like selling it through her body language, right? Spiritual practice is supplies. It's people, the rich do this often in like networking. They're seeing what they can get out of each other. Networking events. Oh, there's caviar. There's food. You're on a yacht. Like the ultra rich do this. They're networking, but the networking is a kind of sharks in a fish tank. They're looking for the fish to get that money, to take advantage of someone, or at least to get something. Scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. People are looking for something, and in spiritual practice. I feel like in congregations, a lot of people have pure intent. So they are truly there to do better on a spiritual level. They're there to learn. They're there to have like-minded people, a spiritual sangha, community of devotees or practitioners that are trying to get better. It's like being in school, you help each other with the homework. There is an element of that community, but there's also spiritual abuse. There's also people that are there to guilt trip you into helping them. Like maybe someone's down on their luck and they get involved with the church and they're looking to scam people. They're looking to support their drug habit. They're looking to get close to you to hurt you. You'd be surprised the long games people will pull. And even the organizations themselves, I have found it's like they'll have a cult feel, or it might not be anything overtly malicious, but I found, at least in the Hindu community, which I'm a part of, in the Zen community, there's an attitude of that you need to contribute to the community. Um, like all do, but I find in especially the Hindu community, they want you to be involved with daily church activities, or they really want you to get involved to like help do the administrations. It's kind of like they want the free labor, I guess is the easiest way to say it. They want people working, getting the mail. Like they want you to kind of work volunteer for free. My mom did that a lot with the Christian churches, but with the Hindu one, um, there was always a different feeling for me than the Christian version. I felt like in the Christian version, there's like people want to do it because there's like a level of like you're well respected by the higher ups, and like people want the pats on the head and the gold stars. I feel like in the Hindu community, you're looked down upon if you're like not getting involved. There's kind of like an expectation that you need to be doing things. At least in the US, there's kind of like the more like SRF versions of this. I find I'd still go, but I try not to go too much because then there's that expectation. I try to contribute as well, but I try keep it within reason. But it's an interesting thing, regardless of faith, where there's a I mean, you got to keep the lights on and stuff like that. But there's that element too, where the priest or the gurus, they have kind of that. They're trying to see who's the rube. I've seen that a few times, especially in Christianity, where somebody, especially if they're older, 70s, 80s, they're not really with it so much anymore. They're kind of Alzheimer-y, and then the priests are accepting on behalf of the church large checks or large cash donations because they're enjoying the time with the priest. They like being respected, and they're kind of getting bled dry by the church. And the family will find out and then get upset. All this money, grandma was dumping all this money into the collection basket, and now she doesn't have enough for her rent or something. There's stories like that. I've seen it a few times. My parents I'm afraid for them, honestly, at some point to do that because they are so involved with the church, and obviously good churches will stop that when they feel something's amiss, but a lot won't. I've seen churches do that to people essentially, and gurus do that to people, or overcharge for kind of spiritual retreats and stuff. It's like kind of a money making scam to some degree. They use it as kind of you don't pay taxes obviously in the church. If you're a 501(c) or whatever it's called, it's tax exempt. So this is tax free money. So if you get $2,000 from somebody for some retreat, and your cost is super low, you made a killing because you're not losing 33% or more to taxes. And I remember once, me and my ex-wife, I won't name the organization, but we went to this organization and we spent the night. Normally they weren't bad about their Hindu community. They weren't bad about expecting money or time or anything. That's why I was interested in them initially, because it was like, oh, I didn't have that kind of feel. However, once we spent the night um at this event, because they also provide like 3 vegetarian meals a day, but really you were like starving. But like we were really poor at the time. Like I think I put like 20, $40 or something in the collection, and like you have a name on it. So I guess they confronted my ex-wife about it. Like essentially, like, we didn't pay enough to really cover the cost. Even like I said, they didn't say it completely directly, but it was essentially like, hey, if you're like spending the night and going to these like true retreats, the you can't do this. And so the next time my wife went, at the time she did one, but she like came home at night, and that was like the resolution, because that was their issue. It's like, okay, like you can, but they didn't have an official amount due. It's like a passive aggressive thing. Just say, I appreciate organizations that like say like, hey, the room costs this much, versus their attitude was, oh, pay what you can. But there's kind of like unspoken thing of like, you need to pay more than that. Like you right, you need to make a major contribution. And the beds were like creaky and hurt your back, and like there's like no amenities. This is like literally just a slab. And the food was like not enough to even fill you. So but it was funny. That always stuck with me. And so I see the other side with like the official organizations. It's like, oh, we want like $2,000 for a 3 or 4 day retreat. And at least they're upfront with you that they're trying to profit, or at least they're trying to have like the cost covered plus some profit. I get it, but I kind of find like her attitude that applies to this. It's like everyone's all smiley and Jesus-y or religion. Everyone's all smiley and cuddly about religion until the real world appears and money changes hand. I kind of came up with something years ago, like because I noticed anytime money changes hand, you gotta watch out. I think in the Bible or some other saying, like the purse strings open, watch out. Like the vultures come. And a guy had told me about that, where his grandma got ripped off for a roof or something like that. And he was saying it's like when you have all the money and you're older, it's like a big pile of bones and you're a dog, and all the other dogs are trying to come and get it. Like people are kind of targeting you if they feel you have money. And so in these spiritual situations, I find too to dress down and not talk much about what you do for a living, because then the assumption is you're being stingy, versus when me and my ex went to that organization, we were in a wealthy county, very, very wealthy county. So we weren't the norm. We were the brokies in the rich area. So they're used to the rich giving a lot of money. We were actually not even middle class. We're like barely lower middle class at that point. So I like that movie Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragons, like crouching angry face, hidden smile. You kind of have to keep this stuff on the inside until it's revealed. I always find myself smiling at children or babies, and I see why I get that now. As kids, I always notice like people always love a baby. People always love a toddler. Like next door, there's a little toddler. He's like 2 years old. And he's like the cutest, and he always says hi to me. He wanted me to go swimming with him, like I'm friends with the neighbor or whatever. And he like he's like, hey, like he's like the cute, because there's no maliciousness, there's no agenda behind his smile, right? And in one of the books I read, um, the Archie community, it's one of the books from that community. I think it was Becoming Human was the title, and written by a priest. And he said something about there was an experience where like an older rich woman was working with a special needs adults, and it was like the first time she'd interacted with people in a very long time that didn't want something from her. So she really enjoyed the smiles, the energy, how they loved her so much for helping like the adults and the kids in the community, their special needs, and they didn't have that malice even possible. They didn't want anything from her. And that really stuck with me too, because I do find with kids, animals, this and that, like the joy is when the smiles, you don't have to wonder if there's something behind it. And that's why I appreciate this video. She's reaching towards that lightly of this. The smile should be genuine. You shouldn't be just handing out your genuineness to everyone, because there's people that are looking to take advantage of it. And that's the beauty when it's truly genuine. Even sometimes little kids, as they get older, they start the smiles and the crying or whatever starts being manipulative. And there, you can't even trust your own kids sometimes, where they're being all sweet because they want something. And I even find friends and family, I've noticed I can almost tell when they want something, because they start acting not that they're mean to me normally, but I could feel this little extra niceness as they have. They're trying to be nice to get you to agree to something. And even my own son with that. I remember one time we were walking, and you must have been like 2, 3 years old. And like he was just skipping, and walking with me and just so happy. And like a woman said, like, he's just so happy, isn't he? Because she could like sense that joy with him. And he really is, because he's a special needs child, and all he's ever known is love. He's never, had like corporal punishment like me and my ex-wife, like really brutal corporate punishment. I remember got hit in the face with the metal part of the belt, stuff like that. I've had, and my ex-wife as well has had situations. So he's not had that beating from the parents like that. So there's like only love, obviously discipline, but within like reason, maybe like a light spanking on the bum kind of thing, but nothing that would be considered like CPS, like some of the stuff me and my ex went through with our parents. So he's only known that, and he's special needs, so he only has a smile. He's only, you know, knows love, right? But even he has a little manipulation. When he wants something, he'll start crying, to make you feel bad. Like that started at a certain point. So even with him, there's a little bit of that. But that purity in the smile is it's true. You can't just throw it out there for everyone to see, because it's for the privileged that get to see that from you. Because there's a sense, if you're smiling at someone, there's like a level of trust with them. So that's how the predators try to get in with you, is the level of trust. And like spiritual communities too, I've seen that where people are like just any they hang off the priests or gurus every word. I've seen that. It's almost like embarrassing and cringe. I've seen that in a few communities I've been involved with, where it was like even the guru or priest sometimes are kind of like kind of trolling them back a little, like, okay, calm down, like I'm just a guy kind of thing. So it's kind of it's they don't want to be worshipped as a deity either. And in the spiritual community too, someone's always trying to hawk a course or a book or this and that. And Ram Dass tells a story too of like his father was a lawyer, and his father was mad that he was selling his book for super cheap. And he's like, no, you need to like make money for yourself. This is crazy. Like you need to take care of yourself. You're always taking care of everyone else. And he said, like, well, didn't you have a case with Uncle George that you did for pro bono? And yeah, but that's Uncle George. Of course I did it for pro bono. But didn't you do a ton of work? Wasn't it a really big case? Cost you a lot of money? Of course, but it's Uncle George. How could I possibly charge him? And then Ram Dass was like, to me, everyone is Uncle George. And he can't rip anyone off, right? And that's kind of how I feel too. With if I was ever to sell a book or something like that, I would make it like $8, $10, like something. I'm not trying to make any money. Let me just, you know, cover the cost of the printing. Like I don't care if it really makes any money. It's just, free source kind of stuff. And but most of the time in the spiritual community, it's all like a funnel. I find like, oh, buy this course, or even a lot of churches like, okay, come to the retreat. This costs this money. There's like kind of money making schemes, like little pyramid schemes going on constantly. And that's the smile part, right? It's kind of like you trust them. They have a level of religious knowledge that you don't have, and you respect them. And I felt myself getting caught up in that. I've almost paid for the 2 grand retreat, right? When you're really into it, I think everyone kind of goes through that when you're kind of in that phase of dropping big money on this sort of stuff. And I think we all go through it, and then you have that moment when you see behind the veil. And once you've seen behind the veil, you become like this woman where you have that level of base distrust. It's like the Reagan thing, trust but verify. You got to do that with people, and especially in the spiritual communities, you have to do this. You hear a lot of people that regret that sort of stuff. And you have to remember, in spiritual communities, the church is like a corporation. It's self-sufficient. It's its own organism, and it will expel you if you cause a problem with it. And it also will chew up what it needs to eat. Right? It's an organism. It needs money as its blood source. And that's fair. We're all organism. The cat eats the mouse. I get it. They need to survive, but you'd be surprised. So people will take what she just said about the smile and, oh yeah, just protect myself from these random strangers. She's not wrong. The most danger often is from the outside, but sometimes the danger is from within. You're sleeping with the enemy, sort of stuff. Like sometimes the people close to you, friends or family, can do you the most wrong. And I find people often do you wrong not because they want to, it's because they feel like they've had to. It's kind of like the thing with the gym locker. You put a lock on your locker in the gym, not because your sweaty shoes are so valuable, but it's to keep honest people honest. Like, but maybe somebody sees something they like and they just take it. But if there's a lock there, the average person isn't going to like saw off the lock, but a true criminal is not going to care. They're going to case you and get your expensive equipment out or something. I was an altar boy. My parents wanted me to do it, and I did it. Luckily, nothing ever happened to me. But I'm in the back area with the priest. I mean, there's obviously there's people in the church at that time, but you're in a room alone with an adult man. I'm like 12, 13 years old, right? Something could happen, right? There's a little too much trust in these random people. I even with my son, I don't really like having outside services to help with him and stuff like that. Um, because you don't really know. Yeah, they've been vetted, they haven't committed a crime. You don't know. And I like that my ex-wife has like a camera in the front room, kind of to kind of let that person know. It's like the vetting, it's like the smile thing. Like, I don't trust you 100%. I don't really know you. We have to protect ourselves from, because often we have too much faith in the priest, or we have too much faith in a family member. We have too much faith in someone that you've trusted or known for a long time. And I find people will turn on you, not because they have a vendetta against you or they want to hurt you, but they have to survive. Maybe they're going to lose their house and they get a loan from you, and they're never planning to pay it back, but you've paid back all your other loans. So maybe they take 5 grand from you, and you've loaned them a couple thousand before, and they've paid it back, right? So you're willing to give them that 5 grand, but they take it knowing they're never planning to pay it back. And that's something in like game theory, where people are cooperative until it no longer benefits one party. So like people will be cooperative as long as both people are getting a benefit. But if someone sees that the relationship's going to end anyway, they're going to take that moment to screw you over, just because it's like they're trying to like be the winner in the situation net. They don't want to be the loser. So that's why you have to watch out for people. It's people are trying to get over on you, not because it's personal or that they're a bad person. Sometimes people are just desperate, and you're a casualty of war. You're in the way. It's not that for me, no matter how bad things get, I'm not willing to screw someone over, even in a desperate situation, because I don't want to have that karma. I don't want to have that in my heart and sleep on it and have this feeling. I find too, you have to discover what angle someone has on you. So for me, one time I was at a poker game, and this guy, we were getting along, but he was a little too friendly, and he asked for my number, and I was like, okay, sure. Like, it's common in the poker world. We're all kind of vetted. So I gave my number, but I'm like, I already knew he wanted something. I'm like, I wasn't sure what it was. And then a couple days later, he texts me, oh, how do I get into this World Series group that you're in? And I'm like, see, I knew it. I knew something was up. So I just kind of told him, talk to this guy. Once he got that other guy's information, he never talked to me again. So I kind of find people are friendly and smiley at you. Like, I'm always suspicious when someone's too nice up front, because that's the other side. If you're too friendly up front, you probably want something, or you have some agenda. And I remember for me, I'm kind of I used to be a really smiley person. I have more of like a resting bitch face kind of thing going now. But when I was really smiley, I remember I was at a busboy job, and this woman, she was older. I must have been like 19. She was probably like 35, maybe a little older, and she was like, you can't be this nice. Like, what do you want? Like, I'm like, no, I am this nice. Like, I don't want anything from anyone. And then she's like, yeah, I don't know about you. And then like we be her as well as other people really liked me eventually, after 3 6 months, because they realized I didn't have an agenda. I'm just kind of like too nice of a guy. But I look back on that now, especially after watching a video like this. It's like, yeah, it's unusual someone's this nice. Like, usually there's a reason for it, right? But I didn't want anything from anyone. I was just too nice. I was brought up in like a Catholic household. I went to like Catholic school my whole life, where it's very cloistered and too nice, and everyone's vetted. And we were the poors, but everyone but like my family, maybe a couple other two families my grade were they were richies. So it was kind of like we had a very small community of like good people, so you could be nice. Like, people, there was like you couldn't be crazy or something. So that always stuck with me. On the other side, that someone's too friendly, so you're off-putting if you're too friendly. And if you're If you're too mean, maybe you're off-putting. But I think what she said, the straight face of kind of like the gray rock, that's the best way to start with people is kind of like you're neutral towards them, but you're not friendly. Being friendly doesn't work because either they're going to think you want something or they're going to try to take advantage of you. You can't win. The straight face, they don't know what to do with you yet. And the mean face, if honestly, the mean face, sometimes I find myself more doing a mean face now because at least then you ward off these people coming at you. I'd rather go mean face than a smile. It's safer, honestly, because you can always smile later. But if you're fruity, smiling right off the bat, you're gonna trigger the predatory response or you're gonna trigger distrust in others. Like too nice is usually a signal of like naivety. You're too naive. If you're too nice, even when I kind of find people would think I was a lot younger than I was for years. I didn't get it. It's because I was too nice. I was too smiley. I I talked too much. It's all the things that give off that you're not mature. So what she's saying about commanding respect, there's a lack of maturity if you're too nice, a lack of real world application. So now now I have the opposite. I have to remember to smile. I do content with my brother, and he called me out on our very first content. He was like, "You're like have this like almost mad look on your face, like my jowls kind of face. Like I just kind of was like not in a slightly negative emotion on the face, but I didn't even realize it. That's the worst part. I was just kind of sitting there. I wasn't being all smiley, but that's when you're doing content, you're supposed to be smiley. So it's funny now. I'm on the other side where, and I used to say in corporate when people had that kind of robot look or resting bitch face, I'm go, I'll never be like them. I'll never get the life sucked out of me. I get it now. It's actually a positive thing. It shows that you've been through the world. You're too, and usually when I see someone that's really animated or too nice or too smiley, I already know they're young if they look older. So it's kind of like that's the predatory response. It's kind of like you're not supposed to run from a bear. You're supposed to like bear spray shoot it, like be loud. Because if you run, you trigger that predatory response. Now it's definitely going to get you because you're showing your prey. So I think the smile shows your prey. Even if it's a nervous smile, I think people can sense that it's you're hoping like please don't hurt me kind of thing. Especially if you're a man, if you're kind of like getting nervous. So I found what's more intimidating, especially as a man, is if someone's coming up to you, is to not smile, but also keep a distance and also, be armed if you can. So I've noticed that ever since I've armed myself on some level, whether, you know, you kind of you have an air about you that's a little different. There's a little bit of a threatening with you. You have some confidence within yourself that if things go south, you have something to use. I kind of felt when I was unarmed completely for many years. I was unarmed probably for good 8, 9 years where I just stopped for some reason. And when something happens, then you're really like, oh my God, just me, my two hands and my 2 feet, elbows and knees, maybe to fight somebody. So I kind of feel like too, it's a self-defense. It's like uh, an animal with bright colors that is poison. If you're smiling, you're saying you're prey. Versus if you have a straight or mean face, you're signaling as a animal that you could be a threat at least. If you smile, like she said, you're kind of giving it away right there. You think the world's a good place and nothing bad can ever happen to you. So tales of caution.